A very good afternoon, welcome to BBC London. I'm Thomas Magill. More now on the state of our council finances, and here in London we know some local authorities are facing big problems balancing the books, with some possibly having to declare themselves effectively bankrupt in the next few years unless there's reform. That's according to a new report. Well, for more on that and the picture in London, let's speak to our political editor Tim Donovan. Tim.
Yeah, Thomas, this report reinforces what London boroughs have been saying for some time, that they are facing really severe problems with their budgets. According to London councils, yes, they will be getting a 5.5% increase in their spending power next year, but that still leaves them short, they say. They say there's going to be a shortfall collectively across the capital of £400 million. And then when you look at 31 out of 33 of London's local authorities, they are facing an overspend in this current year, which ends next month, which means they have to find cuts and savings or to dip into their reserves. And there are really difficult decisions to make.
The scope for manoeuvre when you're making cuts falls largely on what we call discretionary services. That's library opening hours, it's street lighting hours, it's parks, it's leisure services, it's business support, it's arts and culture. So those are the things where we're going to feel the deepest, hardest cuts. And for many people, those aren't just nice to have. Those are the things that make an area feel good to live in.
Now it's the budget setting season for local councils, and for instance, Thurrock in East London, in Essex, will be meeting tonight. They are considering a council tax increase of 8% next year. They've been given special permission by the government, although the government says they could go to 10%. The Conservative administration there is suggesting that's a step too far. Meanwhile, London councils generally are hoping that the national budget will help them, particularly with the cost of dealing with homelessness.
Thanks, Tim. Tim Donovan, our political editor there. Now, Gatwick Airport says it wants to double the number of passengers using the facility by upgrading its emergency runway. A 6-month inquiry has begun into the plans, which bosses say will create 14,000 new jobs. But campaigners are not happy. Peter Whittlesey reports.
Gatwick's big enough! Gatwick's big enough!
It's day 2 of the planning inquiry into the proposed expansion of Gatwick Airport, and this morning protesters were out in force, highlighting their opposition to the airport's emergency runway being upgraded to operational use.
We feel quite passionately that this is a new runway by the back door. There is nothing positive about this new runway. It's a quick fix, it's a quick win for Gatwick Airport. They don't have to jump through all the hoops that they did when it was Gatwick versus Heathrow for a new runway.
Gatwick says extending what they call the Northern Runway would create 14,000 jobs, contributing £1 billion annually to the regional economy. But today's hearing is all about giving local residents the opportunity to speak directly to the planning inspectors.
This is the 6th attempt at creating a second runway. You've got the problems of locally air pollution, noise, congestion, traffic congestion in the local roads, and internationally for the world we've got climate change.
But don't forget there are supporters too.
But most importantly, it's also the fact that across the region we're seeing that the Gatwick Airport is increasingly a beating heart actually of the business community, and it's very, very important that we can see sustainable growth there, particularly as the world's busiest single runway airport.
What do we want?
This inquiry is scheduled to last 6 months. Peter Whittlesey, BBC London, Crawley.
A number of schools from across Bexley have been working together on a very special project researching the area's past as part of a new interactive exhibition. The students have produced documentaries and short films about their neighbourhoods, while Aisha Baksh has been to meet some of those involved.
When Thomas Smollett, the first vicar of Bexley, left a sum of money to pay for the education of the poor in the parish of Bexley.
Looking back into the past to understand the present. These school children in Bexley were given access to local archives and interviewed alumni as part of a multimedia heritage project. And the pupils from both primary and secondary schools used broadcast quality equipment to create documentaries and short films about what they learned. It was designed to bring different schools together, both grammar and non-selective. And their work is now on display at Hall Place in Bexley.
This has greatly boosted their self-esteem, their confidence and their ability to work with other young people across Bexley. It's been a really exciting project for us and for them to be involved in.
We've always kind of never set a limit on what young people can achieve, and I think that's kind of why we work so well together, because we have that outlook.
All schools closed for the first time since the Second World War.
We had to get used to online learning at home and not being in a classroom.
As well as exploring topics such as the COVID pandemic and the 11+, they also gained an appreciation of the past.
It made me feel really proud, actually, and it's really exciting.
To me, it's like 5 years of my life, but it's been there for hundreds of years.
If they actually look back, they would realise that they've got it quite good from what it used to be.
We need to realise how lucky we are to have all these things and how changes in the past have come along.
The exhibition Through Our Eyes is on from now till mid-March. Aisha Baksh, BBC London.
Now, Transport for London have been holding auditions this morning down at Southwark Station for the next batch of buskers for the Tube. It's the first time performers have had the chance to impress bosses since the pandemic. Well, Matt Graveling has also been along to scout out the talent.
There's something beautiful about going to work and hearing the sound of music on the Underground. Well, there's around 200 people with an official busking licence in London, but today they're trying to add a few more. It's auditions for, let's call it TfL's Got Talent. I'm not sure that's the official title, but joining me now is Patrick from TfL. In your own words, what's going on today?
Well, we've opened up auditions for buskers to get a licence to play on our network, and we're looking for a really diverse range of talented musicians that can add to the cadre of great people we already have that can perform at 40 locations across our network.
You had around 500 applications, you whittled that down to about half.
Yep.
So you're going to be seeing around 250 people, when and where?
So over the next 10 days, we'll have about 30 applicants a day performing in front of our expert panel across stations across our network. But today we're starting in Southwark.
Are you the Simon Cowell of TfL, Patrick?
Certainly not, and our panel of judges is far friendlier.
Thank you very much. Well, some of the successful performers could be on your journey to work as early as this summer.
And good luck to everyone taking part there and auditioning. That takes us to the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Good afternoon. It has been a largely cloudy day, but there were one or two brighter spells or breaks in the cloud as the sun rose, which led to a rather beautiful sunrise across London first thing. But the cloud has been moving in. Any mist has lifted into cloud, so it has been rather grey. Now you can see the progression through this morning of the front, which is edging in our direction. Now it will be dry for a time this afternoon, but that rain will start to move in from the west as we head towards the end of the day. Temperatures are going to be very mild though, 12 Celsius at the maximum this afternoon. Now overnight tonight it is going to be quite a wet evening. That rain will move through, becoming drier through the middle part of the night. Then our next front edges in as we head through towards tomorrow morning. The wind also starting to strengthen. The minimum temperature, though, very mild, not dropping much below 10 in central London. So it's a wet start, a blustery start to Thursday. And that rain is really going to linger. It's going to take its time in the east, the south, perhaps staying for much of the day. The temperature tomorrow, again, mild, though, at 11 Celsius. The wind will finally start to ease off a little bit. But then as we head towards Friday, the first day of meteorological spring, it's a wet and windy start to the day. Showers for the afternoon, but the temperature starting to feel a little colder.
Well, that's all from me for this afternoon. There's much more on all of today's stories on the BBC News app, including details about how the new emergency timetable will look for the Central Line in an attempt to reduce delays there. Lakshmi will be here this evening at 6:30, but from all of the lunchtime team, have a lovely afternoon. Bye-bye.